Good morning, YouTube. So I see these videos about walnut blasting, and I'm not sure, because I haven't done quite the research on this, is that walnut blasting was created because people are not maintaining their intake system, their PCV system, their GDI systems. So now, by not knowing about simple maintenance procedures because you weren't educated when you purchased this vehicle, which is put that fault back on the manufacturer, the used car salesman, the new car salesman, the service manager, the general manager, all of them, on not educating the consumer on how to maintenance that vehicle. So now you have a turbocharged, high pressure fuel pump, low tension rings in the engine. A lot of this may seem like too technical stuff for you, and maybe it's not. But what happened is, years ago, they used to have tighter rings in the cylinder bores, okay? And what that did is put more drag on the engine, which reduced horsepower and efficiency. So what they said is, okay, well, fast forward, the EPA wants gasoline vehicles, or it's all vehicles, to have a certain amount of power, a certain amount of emissions at the tailpipe. So what do? They come up with ultra low emissions vehicles, PZEVs, zero emissions vehicles, and all that has to do with how much work that catalytic converter is doing. So back to walnut blasting your engine. This can all be avoided. Clogged catalytic converters could all be avoided, and it's all with simple maintenance. So now, what do you think walnut blasting costs on a vehicle? Well, every vehicle is different. It's very labor intense. It's very time consuming. Depending on how bad it is, it may cause internal engine damage, so on and so forth. My point to the story is, skip all the walnut blasting, right? And regularly have your engine fuel injection services, carbon services, induction services, GDI services. I've even myself used antifreeze and a water mixture in an IV drip to create a steam effect, okay, because steam is very effective, but it takes a lot of skill to do that procedure. And what I meant by this is that anytime if you've ever taken an engine apart with a blown head gasket, if you look at the 3 cylinders or 2 cylinders or 9 cylinders or 100 cylinders, the 1 cylinder or 2 cylinders, that had antifreeze mixing in the combustion, where the gas and air vapor and everything go for combustion, that is like brand new, and that is from steam. And if you'll see traits of that in another cylinder as the head gasket blows in between cylinders. So I do, in some occasions, do an IV drip with antifreeze and water, which is very effective. I don't advise the average person who's non-experienced to do this because it is super dangerous. Any IV service is super dangerous, even for a top-level pro if you have malfunctioning equipment. But for the novice, I will tell you, dangerous. So back to this, walnut blasting is super expensive. You know what's cheap? Going to the service provider, the dealership, and you know your car needs an oil change, right? And so the bell should go off in your head. Man, I should have the fuel injection service done, an injection service done, a GDI service, and ask them to look over my car to see if there's anything else going on. You may or may not be aware of an issue. There may be things that are close to being due. There may be maintenance intervals that are due that can necessarily be put off a little bit depending on what's required for safety of the vehicle and convenience of the vehicle. I mean, like, hey, your battery's almost dead, Mr. Customer, you didn't notice that. You may not have, so prioritizing. But the point of this story is, how do you eliminate having your engine torn apart for walnut blasting? Is regular routine maintenance. And I say, with every oil change, not that you have to have a super thorough job done, that you maintenance it. And as you continue to maintenance it every time that you're in for an oil change, and I would say, don't go by manufacturer's oil change intervals, because you'll never catch up on decarbonization of the inside of the engine if you do it every year, every 10,000 miles, every 20,000 miles. I'm going to tell you, it would be my opinion that every oil change with a GDI engine, or a dirty engine, because this is what the industry's calling them, that your engine is dirty by design, that you should be doing some type of induction and GDI service. Not necessarily a fuel injector clean or fuel injector service. It won't hurt because those additives are cleaning the tips. It's making sure that it atomizes well, and any properties that are in that chemical will help dissolve carbon and residue deposits. But walnut blasting can be avoided. And if it's never been done, guess what? There's no avoiding it. Someone's got to go in there and scrape all that carbon off, tear the engine apart, put walnut blasting equipment in there, and you're paying through the nose, in our words, to prevent something. And I would say preventative is cheaper in the long run. It may cost a little bit every time you're in, but so what? It's not like your car is going to be down for 2 or 3 days, risking internal engine damage, cylinder head replacement, bent valves, so on and so forth. I mean, once a cylinder starts to foul out from carbon, guess what? Now the spark plug's got problems. Now the catalytic converter is overheating because it has too much air and fuel or vaporized air-fuel mixtures in the converter, so now it's saturated with carbon and fuel and all that stuff. And then once the engine's fixed, right? Now the engine's running perfect. A few thousand miles later, or even a week later, bing, check engine light. Guess what you got now? Cat efficiency code. It's just a snowball effect. Avoid having to have your engine walnut blasted. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. The channel's growing very well.